Hey there writers. In this video I am wanting to talk about how I managed to publish 8 books in 2 years. Yes, it has been an exhausting 2 years. It's been a busy 2 years, but it's been nowhere near as crazy as you might think. And actually there has been surprisingly little writing when you think 8 books in 2 years, because the key is in the wording. I had 8 books published. At no point did I say that I wrote 8 books. So the point that I am trying to make with this video is not, oh my goodness, I'm so amazing, I published so many books, be like me. It's that, okay, so we compare ourselves to each other constantly, especially with social media, and it's really, really hard not to. And it's important to think beyond the initial reaction. And if there is something and you're thinking, my goodness, how did that person do that? To look deeper if you can and to work out how they did it. And you will often see that, everybody's just regular human beings. We have the same number of hours in the day. Nothing that anybody does is superhuman. And often it can be broken down. And not that their achievements aren't fantastic. I'm very proud of myself for publishing all these books. But when we kind of look at it and how it came about, you'll see that it's not as impressive as writing and editing and publishing 8 whole books in 2 years. It's more complicated than that because it actually took a lot longer than that. It's just that the actual publication of the books came about much faster. So let's go through these books and I'll kind of talk you through it and a little bit about the timeline from what I can remember, because some of these were written quite a while ago. Right, so the first book which was published was Falling in Love at Nightingale Farm. I love this book. It is such a sweet story set in the Kent countryside. It's lovely. And what happened is that this book was part of a 5-book deal which I signed with my publisher back in 2022. And 4 of the books had already been published before. They were self-published and my publisher took those on. And then this was a new book, which was the original book, which I sent to them to see if they would be interested. So this book was written well before it came out. Obviously, you don't just write a book and then upload it the next day, especially if it's traditionally published. But I believe this came out on the 13th of January 2023. So I started to write this definitely in 2021, I would say. It took me a little while to write this because I wasn't properly back in the publishing game at that point. Okay. So then the next book that I published was Reader. I tweeted him, A Writer's Guide to Social Media Marketing on Twitter X. So this is the first book in my non-fiction for writers series. It's a lot of fun to write and there's a lot of information jam-packed into this. And the idea about these books is that they are for writers who want to be writing and they don't want to be spending their lives on social media and doing all these things which take up so much of our time when we want to be finishing our manuscript. So it was great fun, but it's very little. It is very little. There is nothing extra in this. There's no padding. I don't want to waste anybody's time. You sit down and there are all kinds of tips and tricks and strategies that you can use to make the best use of X. But it's not going to take you ages and ages to read it. And honestly, it didn't take me like a year to write it. It's a short book. Next, we have the second book in my non-fiction series. And this is Write, Eat, Sleep, Repeat, 30 Days, 50,000 Words, How to Win NaNoWriMo. Again, absolutely chock full of information, of tips, strategies, all this good stuff, but it is not a long book. So when I say I wrote a book, I did write a book, but we're not talking like a Game of Thrones sized book. We're not talking epic fantasy that is 120,000 words long, yeah? It's a short book. Then along came Christmas and my Christmas book from last year, A Christmas Truce. such a cute book. I actually, though, had a terrible time writing this. Basically, I think I wrote about 30,000 words and it just wasn't working at all. It was originally set in August and was not a Christmas book at all. So I got in touch with my editor and I sent it to her and I said, look, can you help? Because I can't see where I'm going wrong. And she helped me and she said, would it be possible to make a Christmas book? And so I did, and it worked really, really well. And it was great fun to write. But because it was set in August, there was supposed to be a very handsome gardener who was walking around without his shirt on while he was gardening. But it was December, so I couldn't do that. I felt a bit bad for him. So I think I let him have a t-shirt on so that he didn't, get completely freezing. But not much else. He was working hard. He was fine. But yeah, so that's the first year done, and that's 4 books. In the first year in 2023. Now, next year is where we get really tricksy, because the first book that I had out in 2024 is this one, The Baby Plan. So this book was actually published by a different publisher a few years ago. So this wasn't written at all within the 2-year period that we're talking about. The only thing that I needed to do for this was some copy edits. So yes, that takes time. But there weren't any big changes at all. I think I did actually add a little, yes, I did. I added a lovely little epilogue, which was so nice to write. But yeah, this wasn't months and months of work or anything like that. It had copy edits and I wrote like an extra, it wasn't even a chapter, it was an extra long scene. It wasn't done during the 2 years, you see. Then next we had my book, which was out this summer, Last Dance, Second Chance. So this was really, really great to write because it's about a ballet dancer and I've always been fascinated about the world of ballet. I wrote the first draft of this during NaNoWriMo 2023 and then the second draft during January 2024. It came together really, really quickly. It was a good one to write. I don't know why. It just did. So yeah, that one I did, it was properly written during this time. Then, actually, I did that in the wrong order because this book actually came out the day before Last Dance, Second Chance. So this book, I'd Rather Be Writing, Create and Perfect Your Author Brand, is the third book in my non-fiction for writers series. And I wrote this during Camp Nano in July 2024. So I set myself a challenge to write, edit and publish a book during that 1 month. And I did it. And, it's longer than the other non-fiction ones actually. But it's not hugely long. And I had a lot of help from other writers who have very kindly given me their kind of thoughts about marketing for different genres, different tropes, different things that you might not have thought of that you can do, that you can kind of share on social media and to think about with book covers and promoting yourself. And there's so much information in this. It's brilliant. And it was hard work, but it was contained to those 31 days, and actually less than 31 days really, because I needed to be finished it a few days before so that it was available on Amazon by the end of the month, because that was the challenge. So great fun, really amazing to step away from all the fiction that I'd been doing as well, because I had, with all of these books coming out, I had a huge amount of edits that I was doing and it was all getting a little bit much, to be honest. So it was lovely to start a new project and to work through it and to actually finish it really quickly. Like really great sense of achievement there. So that was good fun. And then finally, on the 16th of October 2024, A Scottish Christmas came out. Now, this book only came about as a result of my previous Christmas book, because while I was thinking of how to make that book into a Christmas book, I happened to have an idea for a whole other story, and within a few hours I had a synopsis written out, sent off to my editor, who then offered me a contract for it, which was brilliant. And this one also came together quite quickly, actually. It was not, I don't want to say it was easy to write, because I don't think any book is easy to write, but I think that there were some that, I don't know, the characters just maybe speak to you more, or the situation. Also, you know, I've now published like 15 books, so hopefully I know what I'm doing a little bit, so I can, you know, do this a little bit quicker. Anyway, there we go. So there's the breakdown. So yeah, 8 books in 2 years. I'm proud of myself. It's an awesome accomplishment. And of course, now I've got all of these books out in the world, bringing me in royalties, which we love. But not all of the work was done during those 2 years. In fact, if you think about when I first started writing the baby plan, oh my goodness, I probably began writing that in about 2018 or 2019, maybe 2019, something like that. Yeah, I think probably, yeah, so years and years ago. So actually, we're talking genuinely 8 books in more like 6 years, which is still cool. You know, I'm not saying it's not cool. And, you know, none of them are much above about 60,000 words. So again, I'm not saying I'm not proud of myself. I'm not putting myself down at all. But what I really want other writers to take away from this, if you're feeling a bit despondent because you feel that you're not writing as much as other people, you're not publishing as much as other people, and you see, I know that especially there's a lot of self-published writers out there because of the way the industry is, who are having to produce a lot of books every year in order to make a living. And I don't want you to think that either that that's easy to do, I guess, or that everything is always completely as it seems from the outside. Yeah, so like I say, a lot of this work that went into these books was from much, much further back. And just like, be chill with yourself. You know, it's not a race to see who can write and publish the most. We all work at our own pace. And, you know, for example, this year, I'm not going to publish anywhere near this amount of books. I'm hoping that I will publish a book or 2, but I don't actually have a publishing date set in stone at the moment, because I don't have a finished book at the moment, because I've been so busy editing and dealing with all of these, the ones that I wasn't actually writing at the time. Be kind to yourselves. Accept the fact that, you know, at different stages of our lives, we have more time to write. Sometimes we don't have a lot of time to write. Sometimes it just happens that a lot of stuff gets published at the same time or close together just because. And other times it's more spread out, and it doesn't matter. We're all on our own creative journey, and it'll go where it wants to go. Anyway, I hope that you have enjoyed this video and that it has been useful, and I will catch you in the next one.